It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Another week.
We're back.
What are you all smiles about?
It's Thursday night. What better place to be than with us in the cabin?
That's true.
Come on now.
You look like the cat that ate the canary there for a minute, man. I was like, what is he up to? He's fixing to do something here.
No.
So as soon as I get this thing called up here on my phone, we will get going tonight's show.
That's right. Let me get on here, make sure I can see everybody in their comments. And then we'll be ready to go.
There it is. All right, Mr. Ginsel found the show tonight. Hey, he wanted to make sure and not miss tonight's show. I wonder why.
Right.
Mark Coleman. Oh, happy Thursday back to you. Jennifer's on as well.
Let's see.
Jennifer, just as a point of reference, I know you can hear us. Don't watch the live stream as we're talking because it's about a 30-second delay. It might mess you up a little bit. But Mr. Hoffman, what's going on? Yes, indeed, I did smack a yoke. We might talk about that a little bit later. The man who is the inspiration for us being in the gym, Mr. Hoffman. Adam Wynn.
If there's no pictures, it didn't happen.
Tammy's on. Man, everybody's piling in. Did not take long. Yeah, easy cut swag. You got that right, man. Sporting the newest hoodie. And you got the hat on. There you go.
Right.
So you ready to kick this thing off?
Let's do it.
All right. Here we go. Stand by, everybody, for tonight's show in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin tonight with Dan DeFaw on a beautiful week here in Michigan.
Go away, snow.
It's going away.
I know, right?
I'm not ready for it to disappear just yet, though.
Well, we have that icy grip of 2 weeks. That's good enough.
Yeah.
Move on. Let's go. Let's bring on spring. You know, with spring, you know what that means.
Yeah. Turkey season's coming.
The turkey season's
Going to be gobbling.
Linda and Ed from West Virginia.
Well, I tell you what, let's get some business out of the way real quick so we can get on with tonight's subject matter.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Danny.
Did we start the show off? We did?
Yes, we did.
Wow. Hey, I'm
I didn't waste any time tonight.
I know you didn't.
Hey, Nancy, what's going on?
Hey, everybody, there's nothing better than helping us support our supporters. And nothing better than going over to Hunter's Blend Coffee. Going over to huntersblendcoffee.com, and you can use the promo code UNJ for 10% off your order when you check out.
And it's under my wagging finger right there.
Yes, that's right. It's under your finger if you're watching live on Facebook or on YouTube.
There you go.
But that's not all. We also have Buck Baits. Buck Baits, also Deer Camp down in Sterling Heights, has a brick and mortar store. You can go check them out down there at 15 in Dodge Park in Sterling Heights. Or you can go use the promo code Up North Journal and you'll get 20% off your order when you check out at buckbaits.com. Our friend Lincoln Roan. You know he loves Facebook.
He does.
He loves Facebook. And you know what? He loves us at UNJ. And if you want to get $25 off your order, go over to packermax.com or just give him a call, talk to him, use the promo code UNJ25 and you'll get $25 off your order.
And last but not least,
that's right. We talked to Paul and Amy a couple weeks back. He's gearing up for spring turkey and waterfowl and all that. And he's got his calls going. And if you use the promo code UNJ10, you'll get 10% off your order at www.jpogamecalls.com.
And we got to give a quick shout out to FM 123 up in Newberry, Michigan, who has picked up our show.
M123 FM up in Newberry. That's right.
So check them out.
And what they have to offer.
We don't have the feed up, though, tonight.
No, we don't.
We're going to start taking a live picture if we can get remember to call that thing
right
up and get locked in on it. But
maybe next segment we'll check in real quick.
We'll see what's going on. But speaking of what's going on, our guest is sitting anxiously awaiting, and let's just get on with it tonight. Hey, Jennifer Drake from Drake's Guiding Services. Jennifer, what is going on all the way up in Michigan, northern Michigan?
Oh man, just trying to stay warm up here in this northern country. She's been chilly lately.
It's been cold everywhere here in Michigan, even downstate. We were, single digits below zero, so I can't imagine what it's like up there where you're at, up there in the tip of the mitt.
It's been pretty cold, but I mean, honestly, the last 2 days it actually warmed up pretty nice, and I heard this weekend it's supposed to be really warm too, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I'm either going to the Asabo or going over to Newego. Don't know yet which direction we're going to head. We're kind of play the weather, see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't rain, the rain will push out. Might hit the river and do a little kayaking, or might do some snowshoeing. We're kind of in between right now, waiting to see what the weather's going to do and hear about the snow conditions. So we'll see what happens. But for you got a lot of snow up there, don't you?
Yes, we do, and it's pretty packy right now. It was really powdery, like a sugar snow before, so it was kind of hard running the rabbit dogs and stuff. But, I mean, it's gotten real packy the last couple of days with the temps warming up, and I think with this weekend it's going to make for some pretty good running this weekend. So
that sounds like fun, running some dogs and getting on some rabbits. Possibly maybe
yes,
predator season's coming, or is already here actually. So
it's here, yeah, and we have a predator hunt this weekend that I'm really looking forward to, so it ought to be a good time.
That's awesome. Well, the reason we got you on tonight is talk a little bit about Michigan's elk season. Last year when I was up there, we talked a lot. You gave me some good advice and showed me a couple spots where we ought to be, and I had such a great time, and the information that you give us was just invaluable. So I had a friend who drew a tag, and we got him hooked up with you this year to go on his elk hunt, and he actually drew a bull tag. Let's just jump into the subject matter tonight and talk a little bit about, how overall was the season good or bad, and then let's talk about Tom Ginsel's hunt that you took him on.
It was a great season. The early season, I had a lot of success. We had a really good time. I had 6 hunters, and we filled all 6 animals were taken. On one tag, we weren't able to actually keep the animal because it was after season by the time they found the animal, so it was past the day, which is a sad, unfortunate rule, but so we had all of our animals were taken though. We had quite a few really nice bulls. We got some really nice bulls on the ground off of a friend's farm over by the Onaway area, and a couple of good cows off that area too. I took some kids and some older people and some people my age out, so we had a really good turn up on that. And then the December hunt came along, and that worked out really well too. I did only end up taking 2 clients on for the December hunt. I had a knee injury at that time, and I just really didn't want to take on more than I could.
What was your early season? What was the weather like in your early season? Was it warm? What was the temperatures like?
It was hot.
Was it?
It was hot for the first week hunt, and then the second part, because there's 3 parts to that first hunt. So the first one was like really hot, and we had a good time with it and everything, but it just, you were very, very warm. And we did end up doing, in those hunts, I took 2 of the times, actually all 3. There 3 hunts I did, each set we did 2 at a time. We took 2 animals.
Okay.
So I took 2 hunters in and got them set up, and I had the first hunter take their shot, and then the second hunter was allowed to take their shot, and we were successful each time doing it that way. It works out really well if you have a good herd that you have, you can pick out the lead bulls and the lead cows, and they'll kind of linger in the area long enough to get a second one down.
I tell you.
So with the temperature like that, are they apt to not travel as far as opposed to cooler in December hunts, or are they? How do they react compared to the 2 different seasons you got there?
So in the early season hunt, they tend to not move until just before dark because they're a really large-bodied animal and it's hot, and them moving in that sun makes it really hard for them. So they prefer to move in the evenings just before dark, and in the early mornings they'll get up, and then when it gets to the heat of the day, they go someplace and bed down where they can get away from those temperatures or get into a cooler area and cool off, so they're not got the sun baking on them and just making it miserable for them. So, you're kind of catching them a little bit in their feeding areas. Plus, there's a lot more food in the summertime and a lot more coverage for them, too. So it does make it a lot more difficult in the early season hunt if you don't have a spot, say, like where we had this ranch. There was a ton of food there for them because there was food plots for deer. So this particular herd that I did the early hunts off of, they were kind of in the way of a farm there that they do a lot of deer hunting, and they did not want them in devastating their crops. So they kind of wanted the herd thinned a little bit, and they asked me if I would come in and help with that.
Sure,
So I came
no
in and
problem.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, oh, well, we can make that happen. So we came in and we got 6 animals off of there, and it kind of pushed the herd out a little bit and broke things up for them so that they could enjoy their deer season without having the elk in the way all the time.
So it kind of works. It kind of works nicely that they're able to reach out to someone like yourself to help them, even though they're thinking about deer. You're obviously thinking about elk, and here you are helping them out and kind of pushing them off. Now, is it safe to say that that herd will probably return by next year?
Oh, yeah, they'll return every year. They know that that food source is there. They've been at that farm for years before these people bought it. So they'll keep coming back, and I'll keep coming in and trying to push them out during deer season to help them out that way. And I actually got that connection from a friend of mine, Corey Willie. He is Willie's North Country Taxidermy. And he does all my animals for me, all my critters, and, you know, we kind of help each other out. If he knows somebody that's looking for a guide, he sends them my way, and if I know somebody that's looking for a good taxidermist, I send them his way. So we just happened to be dropping off an animal of mine there, and it so happened that the people that owned this farm just happened to be dropping off an animal as well. And kind of the connection kind of was made right there, and Corey said, you know, hey, this is my friend Jen, she happens to be a guide, and they were talking about having a problem with elk, and I said I could help you with that, and they were like, well, we would love the help. So it worked out, and the connection was made there. So it was really nice. And that helped out the early hunters a ton right there. And I was really hoping that the herd would kind of stuck around there because this food source was so great. But there was further down the road, there's these big cornfields in this one area where there's a lot more food for them, and they have yarded up in that area for years. So I had a feeling that they might move off, and they did. They did exactly what I thought they would. They're a pretty habitual animal, just like I told you about the LeGrand animals. I mean, if you learn their patterns, you pretty much know where they're going to end up.
You know, that time of the year, you're talking about them moving off the green fields, going to the corn. I mean, that's their preferred food source at that time of the year, going in more into the grains versus the green stuff?
Yeah, if there's standing corn and their snow has fallen, they're going to go to the easiest food source because they need, you know, a lot of food for such a big animal. So they eat the entire stalk and everything. It's not just the corn that they're eating. They will eat the whole stalk right down to the ground.
Okay. And I got to imagine, too, the corn, just like for waterfowl, when they're flying south, they'll stop and they'll, you know, that's their preferred food source, trying to generate body heat and energy to get them south. So I got to assume it's the same thing for the elk.
Yeah, trying to help heat themselves up in the wintertime, and easy source of food to get them moving and up and for the day, and then they're off and doing whatever. So, you
know, you mentioned too about making connections, and I think that's one thing that's overlooked so much, especially maybe for new hunters or people that are looking to get into the outdoors or find a place to hunt or anything of that nature. It's just making those connections, just, you know, and listening to the right people at the right time and being at the right place. Don't be afraid to drop hints. Yeah. You know, and just like you know, you come across all these different places that you can hunt, that you get permission to hunt. That's awesome.
Yeah, you know, and honestly, just if you talk to the right people and be friendly. I mean, you know, show them that you're a courteous, respectful hunter, that you're going to follow their rules, you know, and make friends with them, and offer to maybe help them with their land if you can. Offer to help them out with whatever it is that they need done there. If they've got a predator problem, you know, throw in the, hey, I'll come in and keep the predators off if you'll let me do this here. Or, you know what I mean? It helps a lot. In fact, actually, I picked up a couple of properties to predator hunt off of during my elk hunts because I was helping them with their elk hunt, and they, in turn, liked my style of hunting and told me about their problems on their land with the, you know, coyotes and their deer, and asked if I would come and help them eliminate some of that issue. So
there you go. You know, and what's not to like about your style of hunting, man? Every time I turn around, all I'm seeing is pictures of animals, man. It's just...
Well, that's a good thing. That's productive.
It is.
That's the way to be. And,
it is awesome.
Yeah. You know, and I'm sure she's willing to talk to anybody to help take her out and, you know, contact her, and then she can help take them out.
Absolutely.
I love it. Yeah, I do. I love taking anybody that wants to go to the woods. My favorite is taking the kids out because kids are like sponges and they love to learn. So.
Well, you gotta like that.
Well, you know. Speaking of that, if anybody's interested, we're speaking with Jennifer. She does have a Facebook page, and if you go to Drake's Guiding Service, you can check her out there and check out the pictures that she's got there. And
there's
give her
the
a like
email address and phone number too if you want to contact her for a hunt. So we got that up there right
Yeah.
now as well. But I tell you what, we're bumping up here on our first break. Let's step outside, take our first break. We come back. Let's talk about the hunt that she took Mr. Ginsel on.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes, that was a lot of fun.
All right. We're going to step outside, take our first break, and we'll be right back after this.
All right, everybody. If you got questions, let's see. Tom Ginsel says, hi, Jennifer. Mark Coleman from Indiana says, hello, Jennifer. Mark Coleman says, I hear elk taste delicious.
Mark Coleman
Yes.
says that he's not been on an elk hunt. I think he needs to try to draw a tag. Well,
Right.
Jennifer, can
Yeah.
outer staters draw tags here in Michigan?
No.
I didn't think so. So he wouldn't be able to
Nope,
go
he's
on a
gonna
hunt
have
here.
to buy some land here, though. If he buys some land here, it has property and lives here for long enough,
Okay.
then he can get in on it.
Right, exactly. And just so you know, let's see what's going on. I'm just going to check in real quick to Newberry.
Okay.
And a car went by. And there's snow on the ground.
It looks like we might be having a problem with the feed here. I'm not really sure. It's still up and running, but I don't know if it's dropping out
No,
or not.
it's going.
Okay.
So far, so good. We're
Good.
rocking it.
I keep getting all these pop-ups here. Over here on the Facebook side. I don't know what's going on.
Oh,
See that?
Yeah, I see it.
It's driving me nuts. I keep turning them off
Right.
here, so hang with us here for just a second, folks.
Yeah, we're still live. She's still going. Oh, we got a couple of questions coming in for her anyways.
Good, okay. Let me save this off real quick before I lose what we've just
Yeah,
done.
you save that off.
And then we'll get moving along here. The next segment.
Got a
right.
couple pertaining to elk.
Good.
All right.
Love questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Second segment of the show. We're talking with Michigan's only female elk guide in the state.
That's
Jennifer
right.
Drake.
Not only.
You're not?
I am not the only one anymore. Actually,
Oh.
yep. You know.
Well, you were the first. Put it that way. You were the first.
Yes, I was the first. The Johnson girl.
Okay.
You were the
She's
first. That's all that
actually doing
matters.
Yeah, she started after her father was in his little bit of stuff going on. He had going on, whatever was going on there.
Okay.
That's a nice way to put it.
then-
Exactly.
Yep, whatever that was, that's not neither here nor there for me.
Right,
But
right.
then she actually got her guiding license. Then I saw her name was on the list as well after that. So I was really excited to see her step in because that brings in a face that's real familiar with everybody, and maybe that'll encourage some more females to get into it because it's a wonderful sport and women love to hunt too, and it's just
good
something that they
exercise.
should be included in.
Absolutely. I agree with you 150%, 199%.
That's right.
The more females we can get involved in the outdoors, the better. The more kids, the more people. The numbers are just dwindling. But
We got to turn that
Yes.
yeah, we do.
around. But we do got a couple
Yeah, I
questions
think-
for her.
Okay, well, shoot.
Okay.
Well, let's start at the top. When do you have to apply for your elk license in Michigan?
Well, I think it opens May 1st, I do believe. Isn't that the date?
it's
the
and
month of
May.
Yep, the whole month of May, and then it ends on the 1st of June.
Yep. You put in for your elk and bear at the same time.
Yes.
So
Yep.
the month of May
And
is
you
pretty
can
important.
apply for the and you can apply for the Pure Michigan Hunt also, which is sponsored by Buck Baits.
That's right.
That's
You
absolutely.
can apply for that a little bit longer. You have a little bit more of an open period to apply for that one.
Now,
So-
can an out-of-stater apply for that? Or no? For the Pure Michigan Hunt?
I don't think so, but don't quote me
We'll
on
have to
that
check it
because
out.
I
We'll
am
have to go to
not
the
sure
book,
on that rule.
and we'll have
Okay.
we'll have to find out.
See, because since I drew my tag last year, I drew a cow tag.
You're done for 10 years.
10 years, but I can still apply for the Pure Michigan Hunt. And if
You can still do the Pure Michigan Hunt and get lucky enough to get that one.
so it's like playing the lottery.
Right?
Yes.
Of course, the whole
It
thing's
is
like
just
playing the lottery.
Mark Coleman wants to know what an average adult elk weighs. So we can do this in a male setting and a female setting.
Okay, so for a cow, the average cow weighs between 300 and 400 pounds. And the average bull weighs anywhere from 500 to 600 pounds and can get up above 600 pounds, but those are pretty rare here in Michigan. So
there you go, guys.
So there you go. And it's a lot of meat if you get one.
Yes.
yes,
Which is good.
good meat.
And speaking of getting one, our friend Tom Ginsel did hit the lottery and drew a bull tag.
Yeah, he called me right after he got that. He said, "You're not going to believe it. I drew a tag." I said, "Awesome. What did you get? A cow tag?" He said, "No, I drew a bull tag." And he's like, I need that phone number of Jennifer's that you were hunting with last year." He said, I think I want to have her take me and guide me this year. So I'll put you two together, and lo and behold, you guys had a hunt. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to let you take it over from there.
Yeah, so he got a hold of me and he told me that you had given him his number, and I was really excited to take him out. I was really looking forward to it. I started doing a lot of scouting for him. We already had that ranch area, but I kind of had a feeling that those elk would leave that area once the snow flew. And I'm not kidding. It was 3 days before the hunt and they had left the ranch.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's just how the luck of hunting goes. You can't pin them down. They're not going to stay just anywhere. So we had been watching it, and there had been tracks on just a few days before, and then the snow flew, and then there was no tracks, and they had left, and they had went to the corn, and they were gone, and it was into an area where we could no longer hunt them in that spot. But I did have another bull that I had been watching, and it was a very big bull and a very old and mature bull. And I don't want to say the location on where he's at because a friend of mine has been watching that bull for a very long time with his family, and they've all been feeding him, and the local farmers in that area have. And so we're just going to leave it at that.
We're gonna leave it at he's been around for a while.
Well, is it okay to show the trail cam photos?
You sure can.
Okay, I cut the bottom off, so if there's any kind of data on the bottom, you can't see that. So, but this is you see
this is Bullwinkle.
Yeah, you sent me two photos here. Go ahead.
He's beautiful, and he's around 17 years old. And my friend asked me, as soon as I told him that that's the one that we were going to take, he asked me very kindly. He said, "Jen," he said, "please." He said, "Don't do that." He said, "We've been watching him for so long." He said, "I knew you'd find him." And I said, "Well," I said, "I mean, you can't hide a big bull like that."
No.
So, and I said, "And he's on state land, guys." And they were like, I know. And he said, honestly, he said, "I'll help your friend find any bull." He said, we'll get him a good bull. I promise.
Uh-oh.
Let this one go. So I left it to Tom, and I said, "Tom," I said, "it is your choice." I said, "I could never tell you no. You know where he's at now." And it is state land. So I said, "This is our choice." I said, "You can say, yes, I still want to go after this big one, or we can choose to go after a different one and look for a different one." So opening morning, we were sitting, and we didn't know that we had that option until opening day anyways. Okay. So we had went out to hunt this big bull opening morning. The day before, we had done a little walking around, and there was no dead animal there, no nothing going on. We knew that these two bulls had been in the area. They were on trail camera. We had them in there every day. So we picked a spot where they were crossing really well, and we were going to set up there. And, So we got everything all set up and ready to go, and we went in, and we walked in the dark, and it had snowed overnight. It was still snowing pretty heavy when we walked in, actually. And we had his son with us, and we walked in, and we kind of walked around a little bit, and I did some calling, and I wasn't getting any answers from him. So I knew something was going on, and we backed out, and we left, and we did a little walk, and we saw where he had come out to the edge of the road and then turned around and cut back in real quick. So we left, and I think they went to go have lunch or something, and then we were going to go hunt, come back and hunt later that evening or whatever. Well, when they had left, I can't remember exactly how that had all panned out. When they had left, I had ended up separated with them, and they were off doing their thing. And my friend, whose property we had parked on to walk back to the state land, called me and said he found the bull dead on the ground. And we had a little bit of concern that someone had violated it since we had been there.
Mm-hmm.
Since it had been snowing pretty heavy. So we called the DNR and we went right out there and showed the DNR where it was, and we helped them load this animal up, and we got everything taken care of. It was a 5x6 bull, and it was literally 2 feet from the road, so it was an odd scenario. And from a 2-track, not a main road of any kind. It was
Gotcha.
actual 2-track. And how we had walked past it and not seen it, I'm still stumped by this, because I mean, I know you're looking for a live animal and not a dead animal on the ground covered in snow, but still, I mean, it was 2 feet from the road, and we must have walked right past it. Our tracks were right there, and we didn't even see it because we were looking for this big bull standing somewhere. So we got there with the DNR. We helped everything. They ended up doing a necropsy on it and finding out it was hit by a car. Unfortunately, it had taken it a few days, and it had wandered in there and expired overnight after we had been in there the night before. So it was kind of a sad deal. So we opted to give that spot a rest, and my friend had gotten a hold of me at that point, and he knew that we were hunting that big bull, and he said, listen, he said, if you won't hunt it, he said, I will help him find another bull. And I said, all right, I'll take you up on it, because they left the ranch. They're not on that ranch anymore. And I wasn't really sure where to take him. I mean, I knew where the elk were in different areas, but I didn't want him to have to hike a ton because it was pretty heavy snow, which he ended up doing a lot of hiking around anyways. And I got to give him some serious props. He did amazing out there walking around. He put on some miles, him and his boy did, and I mean, they put a lot of miles on, up and down and moving around, and we ended up getting him successful on a nice bull. It took a few days, and but it did end up happening, and we got to have a little celebration, and the boys celebrated a little more than me because I still had a cow to get down on the ground. And they got to take off, and then we ended up, my friend helped me get this cow on the ground as well a couple of days after that. So it worked out really well.
Yeah, it's awesome. I was just showing the photos here of it. A nice elk, big elk.
Yes.
And I got to imagine, I mean, for anybody, I know what it was like when I went, just seeing one up close. And I saw some bulls, but I had a cow tag. But just to see one, let alone be able to take one, is just got to be, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Especially in this state. It's like you said, it's like hitting the lottery. So, but I know Tom's listening right now, and actually he chimed in a little while ago, and he said that he's going to put in for the Pure Michigan hunt as well, and still try to get another one. So,
yeah, that would be.
He took that with a rifle, and one of the questions we do have is, what caliber rifle would you suggest is typically used for elk hunting?
Well, it kind of depends on what you're familiar with hunting with. I actually let a young fella, he was autistic, that was hunting in the early season hunt, and he used my 6.5 Creedmoor and took his cow with that one. So, I mean, it just depends on what you are familiar with or what caliber of bullet you're using, I guess, for, the weight in it. You want to make sure you got a heavy grain so that you can get into them. If you have a good placement on your shot, you don't have to have a massive gun, but the average that I've been noticing is most people bring either like a 308 or the 7mm. I had a 30-06.
okay.
2 actually of those. So I mean, it depends on what the person is familiar with, and they usually pick a gun that they're more comfortable shooting, and that's what I recommend, whatever you're more comfortable with, because you want to be the most successful you're going to be.
Exactly. Well, that goes with anything that you choose to use, whether it be crossbow, bow, gun. You got to be comfortable with what you're shooting, right? And you got to know the game animal.
Yep. You got to know where you're going to place your shot. That's the most important. You see a lot of people just let lead fly, and they end up putting 6 or 7 bullets in, and unfortunately, that's just not what you want to see. You'd rather see them be able to do it in 1 or 2 shots max and have it be done. So.
Exactly, and that's the thing, right? So there you go. Get a caliber that you're comfortable with for the game you're going after. and maybe talk with the guide if you're going to get a guide and see what they suggest for where you're going.
Absolutely. And talk with your guide ahead of time, too, to figure out what kind of conditions you're going to be in, what you need to bring. Do you need to get prepared physically? Last year, I remember 5 days. I walked 33 miles in 5 days. And Tom, I asked him, I said, so how much did you walk? And he kind of laughed. He says, a lot more than I thought I was going to have to, and that's one thing he talked about to me was, he didn't feel like he was prepared enough, as far as the physicality of that hunt. And I remember up there on the LaGrange Ranch, gosh almighty, there was a lot of walking up there. That's a big place.
Most of the time with me, you are doing a lot of walking. Unfortunately, with Tom and with the cow hunter that I had, they were supposed to be on that ranch. I was really hoping that those elk would have stayed because of the new food plots that had been put in. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. And so then your option is that then you have to put some miles on in order to fill your tag. And that's unfortunately something that a lot of people don't think about when they take on something like this. And like my cow hunter, she was not prepared at all. One, she had never even hunted prior to this until she got her tag, and her husband actually made her go out and shoot a deer first, so that she had an experience of what it was like to take a living animal first before she went and filled her cow tag.
Right.
And she really wasn't prepared at all for what the actual needs are for doing this kind of stuff, for the amount of hiking that you'll have to do, for the kind of weather that you're going to be in, the situations that you're going to wind up in the woods. She just really wasn't ready for that, and she did amazing though. She hands down, if I am moving around as well as her at her age, I will be so happy.
Well, you know what?
So proud of this woman.
It goes to show you. And when you watch all these videos, whether you're out west or you're watching Michigan, right, until you actually experience it, you won't know what it's truly like. You can watch all this stuff and not know until you actually do it.
Yeah, looking back on my hunt, the physicality part of it, I was prepared for. I'd started working out actually the year prior. Danny and I, we've talked about this on the show many times, but if I hadn't have done that, it would have kicked my butt. But the thing that really got me was that first day. I think we walked 6, 7, 8 miles that first day, and we were on state land at that point. And that was before actually I had called and talked with you and met up with you. But that first night, I remember laying down in bed, and Danny, you were up there, and I'm like, I think my legs are fixing to start cramping up just a little bit. But it was the water intake. I was dehydrated, and I learned after that, you got to slam water. You got to drink enough water when you're doing a lot of walking to avoid those cramps and dehydration.
Yeah, staying hydrated is super important when you're out there. Even in the wintertime, people don't realize that you really need a lot of water, because you're going to sweat when you're carrying that gun and you're carrying all that extra clothes on and you're hiking through that heavy snow. Mm-hmm. You lose a lot of body moisture that way, and you'll dehydrate fast.
Absolutely. And, that's one of the things, one of the questions from Mark Coleman is, it sounds like you need to be in pretty good shape to hunt elk. And that's either if you're going out west or here in Michigan. And do you have any suggestions on like a pre-elk hunt workout program, or any suggestions for thereabout?
I would just say, make sure that you're prepared for a lot of hiking. So if you, say you get your tag, you find out about it. For the next few months until you're ready to go to your hunt, I would be trying to hike as much as I can, pushing myself with whatever I plan on carrying for weight-wise while I'm elk hunting. That's what I'm going to carry while I'm hiking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
That way you're
getting out there and hiking with a backpack.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
The least you can do is walk.
Absolutely.
The least you can do is start walking, because you're just not going to walk a little bit, and it's not going to be flat.
That's just here in Michigan. I think if you go out west, where you're in the mountains, where it's
walking's way more out there.
Exactly. You're really going to be pushing it.
And you're up in the elevation areas where, oh my gosh, it's even harder on you. So you got to be prepared for that stuff.
Air's thinner. You get altitude sickness. I know I got sick when I was in Colorado in 2008, and I thought I was going to die.
Well, look at Jim. Stefan's out in Wyoming needing to get the poles because when he's walking up and down the hills,
Yep.
it's not flat.
No, not
So
at
there
all.
you go. Start with at least the minimal walking.
Yep. So I tell you what, we're bumping up here on our next break. When we come back, we can talk maybe about a few more of the other hunts, but some of the other stuff that you're up to, this time of the year. So,
Okay.
All right, we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this.
All right, everybody. Got any questions for Jennifer?
Good questions.
Absolutely. We got a couple more still. Kind of just timing them out for her towards the end because they're kind of fall into our category at the end.
I will say, the questions from Mark Coleman. I think the thing that's overlooked the most, and Jennifer, you can answer to this a lot better than I can, but I would think the biggest thing people overlook is the physicality of what they're going to encounter when they get out there.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's really prepared for it. And the funny thing is then they look at me and they're like, how in the heck do you do this?
Right? Yeah.
And I just love doing it. So I'm able to push myself through it because to me it's a passion. But if you're not prepared, if you're not exercising, if you're not out there and actually physical, I mean, I have horses. I'm throwing hay every day. I'm shoveling snow or shoveling manure or doing some kind of chore because I got lots of critters. So that keeps me physically in shape. I could probably be in a lot better shape than I am.
We all can.
Right. But it keeps me in a pretty decent shape to be able to do what I do. And I'm small and I'm little, so I get through the woods easier. I'm not sinking in the snow as bad as everybody else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a little bit easier on me because I'm kind of tiny.
Well,
But
I got to say that, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I'm just going to go ahead and venture to say it, that the Midwestern deer hunter is out of shape. The average Midwestern deer hunter, I mean, they don't walk into the woods a long ways. They've got 2 tracks to get in. They go in a little bit from there. They got shooting houses. They take their food with them, and that's kind of the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. I've kind of started going towards more of that all day hunt, a lot of walking, a lot of hiking, and pushing myself. And I think
That's right.
the hunt to me is more enjoyable when you do that because you see more country, you see more critters, and you have more opportunity, I think. But the physicality of it, that I really enjoy that.
Absolutely.
yeah, that's to me the most important part of it. So, I mean, I love being out in the woods. I love walking around in them. I mean, I'm a rock picker from way back, so the whole time I'm walking around, I'm looking for animal tracks. I'm looking for antlers. I'm looking for cool rocks I want to take home. I'm just enjoying nature in general. So
That's what it's all about.
yeah.
All right, here we go. Next segment. Stand by in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Third segment of the show.
If you're listening on the podcast, besides Mike not being able to talk, you got to turn into our live on Facebook or come and check out it on YouTube because there's things between the segments that you won't hear.
That's
but
right.
You can see and listen to and figure out what's going on behind the scenes.
Some good discussion.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of questions I got for you, but what else have you been up to before we get to those questions that you got going on that you've been trumping around the woods out there?
Well, I've been doing some rabbit hunting. My boyfriend has a really awesome beagle. Zeke is his name. We do a lot of rabbit hunting with him and some of our friends' beagles, and we run around and enjoy that for, what days we can when the snow's right. And I try to get in as much coyote hunting as I can and predator hunting. It's, a lot of fun. I, think that we have way too many coyotes and it's a real problem. So as much as I can get out and bait for that and do, I've got I wish I would have thought about it previously. I could have sent you some of the pictures. I have some beautiful pictures of golden eagles and some huge coyotes on some roadkills that I put out. Just, a lot of fun stuff like that. Looking for sheds. I did do a lot of walks looking for sheds. I took my dad out a couple of times and did that. And looking under all the oak trees where the acorns and stuff, they're still trying to dig them up. So, just unfortunately, they hadn't really started dropping until the last 2 weeks. So just haven't really had much luck there yet.
Okay. You talk about the predator hunting and the fact that we got a lot of coyotes. I know around our camp, that's we got a ton of coyotes. You know, even here downstate, I had an encounter with one last night.
Encounter.
Yeah.
It was a beginning and end.
Yeah, it was over real quick, but up there where you're at, yeah, right. You know, are you guys covered up in coyotes up there? I mean, they're always cyclical. You know, they'll population will rise and fall, obviously with the food source. But I mean, right now, are you guys having a tough time with the predators up there?
We have a pile of coyotes up here right now, so. Yeah, it's been a problem. You know, you can go back and call, and just about on any given night and hear packs just about every direction howling back, answering. You know what I mean? So there's just so many of them. It's a real problem for sure.
You know, in this time of year, mating season right now, I gotta assume that, like you say, you throw a call out, and you know. If you're good at calling, you're going to have them light up pretty close and come in, and that's where you're getting most of your encounters. Are you doing a lot of night hunting, or are you doing mostly day hunting and calling to them, or how are you setting up?
Right now, I'm not set up for the night hunts. I was borrowing my uncle's night scope and doing that for a while, but myself right now, I have not gotten a night scope, which that's my plans this spring. So. Okay. But so I've been doing, you know, mostly just before dark hunts and just in the early morning hunts. And I've actually, you know, had some success calling them in. I did shoot one a few weeks back. I did not recover him. He ran off into the swamp, and I was not going into that mess. So unfortunately, he made it far enough in that was the end. I tracked him a ways and was like, nope. So, and I actually was real surprised to get that one. I walked out to go to check the bait to see if they had been there and to check my trail camera, and I brought my gun with me because I thought, well, I'll try calling just off chance, you know. And I literally had my backpack on. I had my call in one hand, my gun on my shoulder, and I was going to step out into the field, and I looked, and I was like, no way. And sure as heck, there was a coyote standing there looking right back at me, standing on the edge of the wood line. And so I set my backpack down, and I set the call down, and it just sat there and looked at me. And I was like, is that really a coyote? So I pulled my gun up and was looking at it through the scope, and I was like, huh. So I pulled the trigger. So I was like, well, I mean, that made my hunt real easy. So. Right.
Well, if you're not going to move, you're going to pay the price, right?
That's right.
Right. I mean, it just stood there, and it had no intention of going. So, I mean, that was that for that one. So I have a lot of fun doing that. I use the gray fox in distress call a lot to have the most of my success. But this time of year, using a female call in the gray fox in distress, you can't go wrong. They come right in. I mean, with them being so territorial right now, and they hear that female call, and the males will come running, you'll draw them in quick. We went out a couple weekends ago and had 4 or 5 of them calling right back at us, and ended up they came in fairly close, 50 yards or so away. They were snarling, growling. It just sounded mean and nasty. And popped a couple shots off and didn't actually successfully get one that time. They made it away. We hit a dead limb or something right in front of him. It must have been. So whatever. But it was fun anyways. And they came in. We were sitting there maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah, you gotta like it when you hear them light up like that. That's the way it was last night for me. Last night, the conditions were perfect. I don't have a night scope at all, but I've got a pretty good sized scope on my rifle where it gathers light. We had full moon. There was no cloud cover at all, and everything you could see. It was almost like daylight on the snow. And a pack come in, lit up, started driving my dog nuts, and I'm like, I just kind of ignored it. I wasn't going to let her out, because they were right at the backyard. And so I went to bed, and all of a sudden, about 12:30, I hear him light up, or hear one light up, and it's just a single, and he just keeps on and keeps on. And I'm like, all right, it's time to investigate. So I loaded up and got set up, and I could see him on the snow. The yard rolls off and down into a low spot down by a pond behind the house, and I could see him in the clearing, and I could see the silhouette perfect, about 150 yards, and got locked in and just waited for him. He picked that head up and cracked a shot, and all I saw was muzzle flash, but I didn't see the coyote. I'm like, well, did he run off or did
no.
I get him? I don't know. And I couldn't see. So I said, well, I got to go out there and try to recover. And so started going out there, and I walked around a couple spots, and I wasn't lined up quite right. And I turned around and looked back where I was at, and I made about a 20-yard adjustment and started walking back towards the yard and walked right up on him. So, and there he was,
Nice.
laying there.
Nice.
And let me throw a couple pictures up here. So, big male. That's the biggest male I've seen in a long time. For down
He
here,
was a big, for sure.
it really shocked me at how big he was. But yeah, I ran the shot. I got lucky. I'm not going to say I'm a perfect shot, but I ran it right through his eye socket. So
Oh, perfect. That is awesome.
not a hole in the pelt, and it came out the ear hole. So.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that'll make a nice pelt then.
Yeah. Now, everybody that doesn't want to see it, look away, because I'm going to put up the shot of where it went in, and you'll be able to see here where the shot went right into the eye. And
There's your disclaimer.
yeah. You had about
Right.
10 seconds.
I mean, you gave him a chance.
That's right.
Right?
But it was exciting. Getting in. I didn't like being woke up, but the fact of being able to get out and take a crack at one, and it had a real beautiful pelt on it. So.
Yeah, nice.
Something, we got a minute here we'll talk about is I called my taxidermist this morning, and he's like, I said, hey, what do you think about, taking and tanning this for me, or what kind of options have we got here? And he said, right now, the biggest problem is sending stuff in to the tannery. He said, it's taken over a year and a half to get stuff back because of COVID. And
Yeah.
he said, I really don't want to send it in because even at the tannery, they can get buggy and get holes in the hide. And he said, I just don't want to do that to my customers. So you're hearing the same thing about sending stuff in?
Yeah, definitely I am. Yep.
Well,
It's been the same way. My taxidermist has had the same issue, so.
Okay. Well, with COVID, what's causing the delays at the tannery? That's the part that I don't understand.
There's probably, my guess is and this is purely a guess, because I don't have any connections to talk with the tanneries at all.
Okay.
My guess, though, is, lack of people to be able to push the products through, to be able to push the hides through and process them and get them done is, going to be the reason why. Also, with COVID, there was a lot of restrictions put on a lot of businesses. So maybe because they have to be in contact with those hides and then send them out and ship them out to places, it's a matter of, packaging and handling and contamination issues or whatever. So I'm sure that a lot of that stuff has played into it. So.
Okay. Yeah, somebody, or what was the guy I was talking to this morning? He said that out in Idaho, the big tannery out there, he said they also run a mink farm, and he said that their mink got COVID and they had to destroy all the mink. And I didn't really think a lot about it, but COVID, they say came out of the wet market over there in China. So, that's animals.
Right.
So I got to
Yep.
imagine handling green hides if they could be some cross-contamination there as well, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, easily, yep. Well, yeah, and they say that your pets can get it from you, so you know what I mean? It can pass from animals and hides and back and forth, and so I'm sure that definitely played a big part of it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. So I guess what I'm going to do now, I've got it outside still. I'm going to bag it and seal it up real good, throw it in the freezer for a while until I get some time where I can actually go ahead and skin it and flesh it out. I'm just going to self-tan it, And
Yeah, you did it before.
There you go.
yeah, I've done it a couple times, so I think I'm going to try it on I've never done a coyote, but I'm going to give it a whirl and see what I can do, because I just don't want to waste the hide. The pelt on that thing is
Right.
beautiful. So
Got some
Right,
questions
yeah,
for you.
and it's a long wait to have a taxidermist do it, but Willie's North Country Taxidermy, he will do them for you. And if you decide that you do want to actually have someone tan it out for you, he will send it out and have it done and have it back, and they rug it out or whatever, however you want it done. If you want the
okay. Well, we'll talk after the show.
There you go.
You said you got some questions?
Yeah, we got some questions. Starting, how long has Jennifer been doing the guide service?
it's been about 6 or 7 years now. So,
All right.
Look at
I've
that,
guided-
lucky 7.
in licensed wise, I guess I've guided a lot longer than that. I've helped people hunt for years and years, but I wasn't a licensed guide. I didn't get that until about 6 or 7 years ago. So
Okay. Good. What's the most important piece of gear you bring out with you besides your gun and your guide?
Water.
There you go. Water it is.
I gotta agree. You know, that was the biggest mistake I made, was not having water with me the first day. Didn't make that mistake after that.
Yep.
Right.
Nope. Water after your gun and your guide. I mean, your guide's going to carry everything else you need, or if they're a good guide, they will. So.
There you go.
Have you, Mark Holman wants to know if you've ever encountered wolves or bears?
I have, actually. We bear hunt, so I encounter bears frequently. I've encountered bears during elk hunts, and I've encountered bears during deer hunts. I have actually stumbled across wolves twice before, and actually a coy wolf before as well. So
you've seen them?
Yes.
Okay.
Seen him and dealt with him.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay, so this is kind of his question is, does the hunter get to help quarter up the elk and help pack it out? Could you kind of go over the process that you have to go through with the DNR you go through here in Michigan that we deal with?
Okay, so I have been very, very lucky, and we have never had to quarter one of the elk for any of my hunters out. That's not happened to me yet, knock on wood. 'Cause so far, we have been able to keep them within range of getting them either drug up to where we could load them into the truck, or with a tractor and picked up and brought right up and laid down into the bed of the truck or the bed of a trailer. So what happens is, once they shoot one, we call the DNR as soon as the shot's made. The DNR come out. They will assist in the tracking process if you need it. If not, and you've already got the animal dead right there on site, which 9 times out of 10 you pray for that. And it happens most of the time, unless there's some bad shots, which occasionally happens. I mean, that's just hunting. So
it's nerve wracking. Not gonna lie. Come on now, you're sitting there a chance of a lifetime in Michigan, and it's
it makes you shake in a way that you wouldn't believe. And there has not been a bull hunter that I've had yet. I don't care who they are. Every single one of them gets excited and gets nervous and shakes. It doesn't matter the size of the bull that's in front of them. So. Right? They all do. It'll happen to me someday if I ever draw a bull tag. I know, and I've seen so many of them killed. I'm still gonna shake like a leaf. I have no doubt. So.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So the DNR comes out. They help you.
Yeah. Yep. They come out. They're very awesome people. I love working with the DNR. They come out. They're very friendly. They're very efficient. They will go right to town. They get what they need off of the animal. If you're friendly with them, they are more than excited about getting their pictures taken with you and being a part of all of that. If there's no one there to help and you need help, and they will help. Awesome about doing that if they have the time and can do it, but sometimes they get so busy with so many calls coming in they just can't, but if they have the time, they absolutely will come and help you load it right in, and they're real good about that. They if you don't know, or your guide doesn't know to tell you that to get the ivories out, they'll show you which teeth are the ivories. They'll, what I mean, they go above and beyond. They're really awesome people. So after they come and they've done their part and then they leave, then usually we have the animal gutted before they ever get there, because it generally takes them some time to get to whatever location. They're not just standing by waiting for you to make your shot. They're usually someplace farther away. Could be 30 miles, could be further. They could be on another hunt and helping someone else recover another animal and have to get to you when they get done. So in the meantime, you get your animal gutted. You don't move it. They don't want you to move the animal. So you get the guts out of it, and if you have somebody with ice, you bring the ice right away, and the trailer, if you can load it, if you can drive right up to it and load it right there on site, then you get everything prepared so that when the DNR get there, especially in the early seasons, because you want to pack that bugger down with ice as fast as you can so you're not having any meat spoilage. So, and then get it to your processor, and if you don't have a processor and you plan to process it yourself, get it someplace, get it hung, get it hosed out, and get the hide off of it as quick as you can, because that hide's going to trap that heat up against the meat and you're going to have a lot of spoilage really fast. So, and that's in the early hunt. Now, in the late hunt, yes, you have a little bit more wiggle room because it's a lot colder, you're hoping, in December. Sometimes it's not. So it depends on the year. But if it goes true to winter's nature, it's cooler in December hunts. So you have a little bit more wiggle room, but you still got to get ice on them and get them packed down and then get it off to the processor as quickly as you can. So...
Right, and Mark Coleman, understand that here in Michigan, when they have the elk hunt, it is pretty intense, and there's strict rules that are to be followed before the hunt, during the hunt, after you shoot. Obviously, as Jennifer just explained, it's very well and meticulously watched.
Yes, it is. And you got to go to the class too. The pre what do they call that? The orientation.
Orientation, yeah.
You've got to go to orientation beforehand.
That's where you get your license.
Yes, you can't. You won't even get your license if you don't go to orientation. So
you have to complete the orientation before they will give you your license.
No skipping class.
That's right.
And this year, even with the COVID, they just did it online. It was an online orientation rather than an in-person, face-to-face.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that.
Well, that's interesting.
Very interesting.
Cool.
And you talked about taking it to a processor or doing it yourself, and that's something you need to make sure you've got lined up ahead of time. Don't wait till you shoot one to make that decision. Know what you're going to do with this before you even go out to hunt, because
you need to have it lined up with the processor before you even go, because for the early season hunt, it is the time of year when everybody's getting their cows and their pigs processed. So a lot of butchers are backed right up. And then you have your youth hunts for your deer hunts, and you have actual bow season starting, and then it gets into that. So they get pretty booked up pretty fast.
Have a plan.
Have
a plan.
Yeah, have a plan for sure. And then in the December hunt, they're even more because they've had every deer brought into them. So, I mean, you really want to lock down with your deer processor or your big game processor that they're going to do it. Make sure that you're confident that, they're going to stick with the plan to bring it to them, because there would be nothing worse than, say, you're in an early hunt and you have this animal and you just traveled an hour to get to a processor, and now he can't take it. Now your animal has been in the sun for that hour. You're running the risk of having spoilage in them 80-degree temps in the summertime.
Easily.
Yeah, the amount of work that goes into these hunts and the time it takes to draw a tag, the last thing you want to do is, ruin the meat that you got when you have an opportunity to get one. It's just... don't waste it.
Yeah, you don't want to waste that. So
you can. I would dare say you cannot over plan on these hunts.
No, plan, double plan, triple plan. Make sure that you have checked your bags 3-4 times. Check your bag every time before you get in the car to leave for your hunt that day. Check your pockets, make sure everything that you need to carry on you, that your tags are with you, that you keep your
yeah, who did that? Who went out to a hunt one morning and didn't have his tag with him, had to drive back to get it? Me,
right?
Yeah.
So
it happens.
Make sure that you got your stuff.
Yeah, it happens. Well, you know what? And I know exactly. We went through that whole scenario of how that happened, and it was because I had my wallet with me and everything, and I had it in my backpack, and I stopped to get fuel that evening on the way back to the hotel or the little cabin I was staying in. Well, what do I always do when I get done, ringing up my gas? I put my wallet in my back pocket, and I was wearing my jeans at that time. Well, when I got back to the hotel and dressed for the next morning, I didn't dress with my jeans. I dressed in my hunting gear, and there was the wallet. And, and luckily, so thankfully, I always check before I went out. Every hunt, I'd always check, but make sure I got my tags and make sure I got everything that I need. Like you said, double check. So that's why I had to go back, get my license,
Right.
And always have a backup plan. So, because we talked about this, I think, before about, checking on your guide. Make sure, give your guide, the benefit of the doubt, but don't be afraid to ask your guide to branch out and ask for help if they're struggling. Because, every guide, no one is guaranteed going to be perfect 100% successful. And if they're struggling and they're having a hard time, they need to be confident enough to ask, someone that's in the area that might know where another herd is at, or, you know what I mean? Because the whole thing is all of us guides, a lot of us get along and we can talk together and we can work together, and we're all happy to work together and help each other out because this is how we do it.
Well, that's it, right? You're all working together. That's one thing I noticed when I was with Mike, that you're not afraid to talk to each other, and you don't have that chip on your shoulder that you've got to do it because okay, admit it, get over it, and let's get on, because
let's get this animal on the ground and find the best way to make it happen. So
right, exactly. So you know what? We're coming up onto our last break. We're going to have our questions, but we got a couple more questions for you in the next break. In the next segment. Last segment.
All right, we're going to step outside, take our last break. We'll be right back after this. Okay, we got something here for you, a challenge.
Okay.
While we're in the break here, do you have your calls handy?
Do I have my calls handy? No, I don't.
Somebody wants to hear a bugle call and a cow call.
Right.
Okay. Well, I can't be bugling in here right now. We'd have all my dogs lit right up. And then you'd never hear me for the rest of the thing.
All right, Mark. So there you go. No bugle call tonight.
So what we'll do, Mark, is we will get Jennifer to try to get a little video together for us of doing her calls. And we'll get it published out there, and so you can hear her bugle and cow call.
There you go.
Yeah, and I have one of my cow calls that I actually got from Buck Baits. And they make a lot of calls, and it is a very nice one. I really like it. It's a nice wood call. It works really well for me, and I would actually recommend it to anybody that's going out, out west or whatever, cow calling. You can actually get a good calf sound out of it and everything too, so it works really good. I chirped in a calf on the early hunt this year and got him within feet of us with that call.
Oh, that's cool.
He was 20 feet max away from us and circling us. We were all sitting out in the middle of a field on top of a knoll, and this little calf left the herd, come running right up to us and circled around us until the big bull came out and chased him back to the herd.
Say that's not a real call, not one of us. Get over here, son.
Yeah,
get back over here with the rest of us.
You're making a mistake, and we actually have that whole thing on recording, so it was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Stuff like that's what makes a hunt,
Right, exactly. So stay tuned, Mark.
All right, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, and 1. Last segment of the show, folks. We've talked a lot about elk hunting here in Michigan, the success that she's had in guiding. Quick shout out to you, Jennifer. If you guys, you draw a tag, get a hold of her, get a hold of us. We'll put you in touch with her. Before we wrap the show up, we'll put up her contact information again.
And you can go right over on Facebook.
Yep.
She's got a Facebook page, Drake's Guiding Service. Check it out. Go like her page over there. And if you get drawn, give her a show.
Absolutely.
Got a question.
Definitely. We'll do our best to help you out.
Great. Okay, we got a question for you. Actually, it's like a combo question. So what was your youngest client and your oldest client? That's one question.
My oldest client was 89. And my youngest client so far was the 2 young kids that I took this year. They both had their cow tags, and the boy was autistic, and the girl, and they were both, I believe, 15 and 16 years old.
Okay. So 15 to 89. There you go. And the other question is your most memorable client and why?
My most memorable client. Well, they're all very memorable. Honestly, I live vicariously through all of my hunters. I honestly think that they're all wonderful people. I've had a couple bad eggs. That happens. You run into that in this business sometimes, but that happens. But most of the time, I love them all, and they're all awesome friends afterwards, and I love to try to keep in contact with them and keep in touch and know how things are going for them in the future, and I always hope that they'll come back and want to hunt with me again for something different sometime. So
there you go. And no, Mark Coleman, I am not doing a bugle call with my mouth. Not happening.
No.
See, Mark's got.
He's instigating
I know
tonight.
Mark's instigating, but he's got to understand when we've got other animals in the house.
Oh my gosh.
Calling is not necessarily the best thing to do.
Yeah, I do have a dog here.
Right? You got a dog here. I know when I'm at home and I pull out some calls, it's dangerous.
Well, last week.
It is bad. I have 4 dogs in here, so if I start running calls, we're gonna have 4 dogs. We won't hear me anymore.
Well, last week on I was watching Limb Walker game calls, call him off a limb or on the limb with Tim Sias, and he was interviewing some guy, and they were running turkey calls. And when I had my phone laying down, and as soon as they lit that call up, my golden retriever just about bit my phone in half. I mean, she come up to that thing as, and would not settle down afterwards. So no, Mark.
She's like, get that to me.
Yeah, we're not going to make calls tonight here in the cabin. So
Exactly. So those were the questions. Do you deer guide as well,
Yes.
Adam?
Yes,
she
although
does.
with as much deforesting as they're doing up here, I can't foresee the deer hunting being too good up north here for very much longer. So
I saw that you alluded to that last week on Facebook, I think. Maybe it was last week or week before.
Yes.
So are they just coming in and just doing wholesale clear cuts on big tracts of state land now?
oh my gosh, yes they are.
Are they? Oh,
And-
okay.
Yeah, they are just leveling it. It is big giant swaths cut. I don't know exactly the amount of acreage, but it's an unbelievable amount. And some places it's as far as the eye can see, they've got it cut off.
Is it just for the wholesale timber sale and the money of it, or is there some kind of management plan where they're trying to come back to early successional forest?
I'm going to say it's the timber sales.
Okay. So you don't think there's a lot of forethought going into deer management per se?
No, because if they were forethinking the deer management, they wouldn't cut off all the oak timbers. It takes so many years for the acorns to be produced by an oak tree.
Right.
For them to cut off all these oak ridges, and that's one of the main deer feed supplies for the winter. You know, they need those acorns and things. They just can't be thinking about our deer when they're doing that. They're not thinking about our deer herd at all. They're thinking about the dollar bills that they're making in their pocket.
That's it. If they were actually, well, I'm going to put my opinion in 2 cents.
Can we get the soapbox out?
No, because they would checkerboard it.
Right.
They would checkerboard it like they did up by us.
Right.
You know, but now that you just mentioned it, it kind of makes me wonder what this year I'm going to run into up there and see. I'll have to go take a little drive and see if they're. Because typically they were checkerboard.
Take a ride on the LeGrand. There's not much woods left on the LeGrand now.
Really?
Yeah, they pretty much cut that whole thing off now.
They had just started in that area last year when I was up there for my elk hunt.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep, they pretty much cut her clear off now.
That's sad.
Yeah, I mean, and that place was beautiful.
It was.
Absolutely gorgeous. And there's more clear cut off of it now than there is forest left standing on it.
Did that push that herd out of that area then?
Yes. Yep, that herd moved. They actually broke up into several smaller herds now and are located in different areas. So,
Are they trying to push the elk? I know they're trying to push them away from I-75. They're trying to push them further east. Are they trying to push them south as well?
they're trying to push them back into that core area. They really want the herd down to that 900 and some animals.
Down in the pigeon area?
So, yeah, yep. So they're trying to push them in around that Canada Creek and all of that in there, you know. So the Fontenellis Road and all of that down in there where they've got it, that core area, that's where they want them. So
interesting. And make money at the same time by cutting all the timber off it.
Well, I think they have a contract, from what I understand, with a paper mill. So I believe the state makes contracts with them for so much wood to be produced yearly to these. So so then they come in and they do these when they chip and they clear cut and they pretty much level the forest. And it's not like it's a select cut. I mean, there are areas where they're select cutting, don't get me wrong. They're not just clear cutting everything. But the majority of what they're doing back here behind my house is clear cutting.
Yeah, that's
so, and it extends further past my house to where if you were to, as the crow flies, go across the wood line from behind my house, you could go to my mom's. And my mom's house is quite a ways through the woods, you know, and across a swamp and some stuff. Well, they're coming in from my mom's side now, and working their way. They've already cut from this side as far as they were going to, so now they've come from that direction and are going to just about meet up, and these clear cuts will actually end up all being linked together.
Wow.
So...
And it's not like the LaGrange was all woods to begin with anyway. There was a lot of open land there to begin with.
Yeah, there was already tons of open fields from previous foresting, and back when it was an old buffalo ranch, and even back when, if you were to look at topographically on a like Google Maps and zoomed in with the satellite image of some of the stuff back there on the LeGrand, there was an old airport runway that, you know how they mark the airport runways back when they were first foresting the United States? They would make these airport runway strips, and they would plant pine trees in number patterns
To form the runway number, yeah.
Yeah, to show the runway number. So you can see one of those back there, and I mean, just everything that they cut off there was so much already open field. To have them go back there and take all the forest that was surrounding it is quite sad.
I walked that runway last year in about 1.5 feet of snow. Oh,
Yes.
Right?
that was horrible, man. I still remember that morning walking in there. Oh,
That you walked right down that airport runway, though. That was that one stretch. I took you right down to the edge, right to where they should have crossed, right in front of you.
yeah, I was about 200 yards short of where I needed to be. If I'd have went right where you told me to go, I would have been successful.
Right?
But I thought I was there, but I wasn't there.
You were that short. Well, I think it's time for us to get our questions out for her.
That's right. Yep. So, Jennifer, we're going to throw a couple at you here. I think we've asked you before.
We
but
have asked
it's
her
been a
before,
while.
but it's been a while since the last time we had her on, so we're going to ask again. I would be amiss or get yelled at if I don't ask them.
That's right.
First question. You're traveling out, checking out possible sites. You're going to be taking some guiding services. What are you listening to on the radio?
What am I listening to on the radio?
Yeah. What kind of music you listen to? Or podcast? Or what are you listening to?
Actually, I kind of listen to a little bit of everything. So, I mean, I'm not against anything, but I guess I'm not into polka. So,
Right on.
yeah,
Okay. No polka for Jennifer.
right. No polka for me. But I mean, pretty much anything else I'm okay with. No angry music, I guess, either. I'm not into the angry music either.
Okay.
So,
Something nice and mellow. It kind of sets the tone for driving down the road, being out in nature, right?
yeah, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So you're driving, you're listening to your non-polka music, and you're not getting angry music, but you need a snack. So what are you going to snack on as you're driving around?
Oh man, my favorite snack, venison jerky. Can't go wrong with that. So
There you go.
It seems to be a popular choice with the people we have on.
And well, what's not to like about jerky, dude?
I'm totally agreeing.
you can't go wrong with it.
No.
It's either that or those I think they're called Mott's pretzels or whatever.
Okay.
I love those things too.
There you go.
She hurt Nancy Jackson's feelings
Oh yeah. The polka stuff.
from Frankenmuth.
Yeah.
right?
All right. That's funny.
Okay, so Mike and Dan are going to come up, and we're going to sit down, and you're going to make us a meal. What's
Okay.
your go-to meal that you're going to make us?
Oh man, I love cooking. So I make an amazing steak dinner with an awesome marinade. I use a little bit of Worcestershire, some soy sauce, some beer, garlic, pepper. Marinate it for a while, throw it on the grill, cook it medium rare, somewhere in there. I don't like a well done steak. Sorry for all you guys that like them like leather, but that's not my thing.
You know, I'm starting to switch over to that a little more lately. I used to eat everything well done, and
No.
even more so now. And I tell you what changed my attitude on it was about 3 or 4 years ago. I had deer heart for the first time, and it was just seared on both sides real quick. You know, it was rare, and wow, was it good!
Hot skillet, sear it
Yeah.
on either side, call it a day.
And ever since then, I've kind of started leaning more towards, you know, that medium, not medium rare, but, you know, medium, somewhere right in that range. That's kind of where I've been going to lately. So,
Yeah, I love a good steak, so you can't go wrong with that.
okay, so elk steak or deer steak?
Oh, elk steak, hands down, every time. If I could have elk every day, I'd live off that.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. There you go.
Well, that's awesome. Okay, so Mike and Dan have had another steak dinner.
That's right. We get a lot of steak dinners.
I like that. It's good.
Steak dinners are great.
and we're gonna sit down around the fire, and you're gonna tell us a memorable story that comes to mind, and what would it be?
A memorable story that comes to mind.
About the outdoors or something that happened. Yeah.
I would have to say it would be this year. I got to experience some fun stuff with that actually the kids, the brother and sister that came to do their cow hunts. And actually, two of my earlier bull hunters as well. I did the same thing for them. So it's a memorable experience in two parts. On that ranch that I had access to, there was a huge bull on there, and he's still there. And he was very beautiful, and he's an 8x8. Gorgeous, gorgeous bull. One of the widest, longest back racks, and the most white tips on his horns you'd ever imagine. And the bull hunters, I had them out, I took them out, we sat down in the dark, and we were sitting down in the grass up against the barn, and I had jokingly said, let's see how close I can get this bull in before light, because I knew they were just down in the field down there sleeping. So I bugled a couple of times and started a cow call. And I mean, it literally took 2 bugles and 1 cow call, and he was screaming, running at us from the other end of the field. And I'm talking, this is 700 yards away. He's down at the other end of the field, way, way down there in the dark. And we can hear him. He's just a bugling, hotting it, hoofing it, coming to us. And I was like, all right, well, let's just sit here and see, if he comes all the way up the hill. So we waited, and pretty soon, there was a big farm light that was casting light across the top of the one hill and down the one end of the field. Well, he come up from the dark end to the back of that hill, and we just saw his horns as they were coming up into the light.
Oh, man.
Over top of the hill, and he stood on that hill and bugled and bugled and bugled in that light for a while. And I let him wander off. And then I did a quick little chirp with the cow call, and he turned around, running right back up onto the top of that hill and bugled a bunch more. And he is pawing at the ground, and you could see the steam just coming out of his nose, and he's looking around trying to find us. Couldn't see us because where we were up against that barn, we were in the dark shadows, and he had the light in his eyes. So he couldn't see where we were, couldn't see what was going on, but he didn't want to come too much closer. Well, he ended up coming down the hill towards us a little ways, and he came, I want to say, about 20, 25 yards from us, and my bull hunters got to sit and look at him, and they couldn't do nothing because it wasn't shooting hours, so they got to sit and look at him, and he never saw us, never knew we were there. Thanks to some awesome cover scents from Buck Baits and my scent lock suit and some good stuff we had going on, it worked great. I mean, he had no clue that, and we had 4 people sitting there, and he had no idea. So he wandered off and went back, and then it got to be daylight, and we knew that they were all down that end of the field, so we snuck around the back side of the hill and down the edge of the cornfield, and I got the first bull hunter, he had first pick. I got him down there to within 50 yards of this bull, and we were sneaking down the cornfield, and there was 100 deer, I'm not kidding, standing around us in this field. They had gotten so used to people being out there in these food plots and stuff that they weren't even afraid. These deer weren't. So they were just standing there watching us, and I kept saying to them, listen, we're not going to have much longer to do this. I said, so when we get up here, I said, you're going to have to take a breath. I said, do not look at his horns, whatever you do. I said, as soon as you look at those, you're going to get all nerved up. I said, you're already nerved up from seeing him earlier. I said, you're just going to look at his shoulder. I said, I'll tell you if it's him. I said, and then you can take your shot. Well, we stepped out from around the edge of that cornfield to where he could get on that bull, and he was shaking so bad, the whole end of his barrel, I was watching it do this.
Jeez.
I was like, oh no. I said, wait. I said, don't take a shot. I said, we're just going to back out. And he's like, okay. He's like, I don't think I could. I said, yeah, I don't think you could either right now, hon.
Oh, man.
I said, we're going to go back. I said, we'll put you in a vise. So we went back and we waited and came back for that evening's hunt. And we ended up taking both bulls that evening. But we backed out and let them settle for the day. And then came back in for that evening, and we sat up in a blind, and I put both hunters up on the platform for the blind, one in the blind and one just sitting on the platform. And I let him take his shot, and he actually selected a different bull. He didn't pick the 8x8. He said, I don't want to shoot that one.
Wow.
He made the decision that he didn't think he could keep his nerves calm enough if he stepped out again, so he took the first bull that came out into the field on our end. And then the other hunter, we snuck him down the edge of the field, and he got the other bull down at the other end, the other big one. So they ended up both taking some really nice bulls.
That is cool.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, and then the next week, the next set that came, I had the two kids, the brother and the sister. And so I asked if they wanted me to call the bull in because they had cow tags, and they had never even seen an elk up close. They had been trying to hunt by themselves, and they couldn't get it done. And their dad asked if I would help them out, and I said yes. So it was kind of not a planned hunt. It was a last minute, all right, we're just going to do this for you guys and get you in here. And they had not gotten to see an elk yet, and they were really kind of bumming about it and hoping that they would, and they hadn't imagined that it would be so hard. So we got him to see the elk, and I called this bull in just like I did for the other fellow, only this time it came, and it was, I'm not kidding, less than 30 feet away from us. And stood in that light with the light in its eyes, and I had them stay quiet, and we kept them really calm, and I kept her brother really calm, and everybody was quiet. And he came, and he took a couple more steps towards us, and I did the blow like I was blowing like a deer would.
Right?
And kind of like a blow and a wheeze, pretty much is what it was, trying to get him to not want to get that close to us, you know what I mean, without having to scare him off and spook him. So I did this, and he kind of turned a little bit, and he didn't act like he wanted to leave too bad, but he walked around to the side of the edge of the barn there, and then he walked back up the hill, and then he stood on the hill for a while and looked around for a little bit, and then he walked back down the hill. And so then we walked out up onto the hill and got ourselves positioned up on that hill, because he went down to the rest of the herd, and we were waiting for a shot for the cows. And so that was when I started doing the cow call and trying to lure that baby out, and the baby ended up coming right out to us and circling around us on that knoll, and the bull had to come and retrieve the baby. It was pretty exciting, and those kids, the look on their faces and the videos that we've got of that, it's an experience I won't ever forget, getting to give them something like that. Their first time seeing an animal that big, that close, having him come run right in and seeing the steam just rolling out of his nose and how excited he was. And he was, just this big, majestic bull right there for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a really, really wonderful experience to have. So it's something that'll probably stick with me for a very long time.
There's just something so majestic about that animal, an elk. It's simply so huge and incredible to be that close to him. It shakes you. It really does.
It does.
Yes.
Chris Marciro says, in my defense, it was cold.
It was very cold. I love him. He was wonderful, but he did make the option to not take that one, and it was okay, because honestly, it was a nerve-wracking experience, and to get it that close for him, and maybe I shouldn't have called it him and got him that excited about it, but it was an experience I didn't want him to ever forget, and I wanted him to have that close encounter and be able to see them up close. So it was a lot of fun, and I know he had a great time. He was one of my favorites too.
That's awesome.
There you go.
That is cool. Two more quick little questions here for you before we wrap everything up. First one is, have you ever taken a hunter with a black powder rifle, and what is the average distance on a shot that you've experienced for elk?
Okay, so on the black powder, no. I have not actually asked for a black powder hunt for an elk yet.
Okay.
So that is definitely not something I've done. And the average shot, I mean, it varies. It depends on the locations of where I'm taking them. I mean, it can be anywhere from, I've had shots as close as 35 yards for a fella that we got him a wonderful bull, a doctor a few years ago. He couldn't see past 50 yards. So we had to get the animal in really close to him. So we bugled this bull in and got it right there real close, and that was pretty exciting too. That one come screaming in, bugling for us, and he got an awesome shot off on that animal, and it didn't go 30 yards and drop dead. So that was the closest shot, really. The farthest shot that I've had was about 350 yards.
Was that the one last year that I was out there?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yep, that's that one.
Okay.
There you go. Anywhere from 30 to
350.
exactly.
Yep.
So there you go.
But,
I always tell everybody be sighted in for 200 yards.
yep. I remember that's what you told me. You better be ready for a 200-yard shot.
Yep, 200 yards. That way, if by chance they, for some reason, see you coming, catch wind of you or something, you still have a chance to take that shot if you can't get in close. But
Right.
if you can get in close, the closer the better, because you're going to be more successful, the closer you are. So there's less room for error.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to wrap up the podcast portion of the show here, and then we'll hang out for a minute or two on the live stream.
Yep. And Mark Holman says, you are an awesome storyteller and loved every minute of the show with you.
Thank you.
There you go. I tell you what, Mark. Get a hold of her and book a predator hunt or a cat hunt up here in Michigan. You know.
Yeah, those are lots of.
Oh, you know what? I did see another question. It's kind of a question, but in hunting, how's the morel hunting up there?
Oh, the morel hunting is very good, but we don't tell where our morel spots are.
Nope. I get it, but the morel hunting. Yeah. Okay,
They're in northern Michigan.
give them the map.
Yep.
They're there.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay,
Yeah,
good.
you'll find them.
Yeah, go find them on your own.
There you go.
All
I
right.
would say go look in the woods, but there's not much woods left.
Right.
So,
That's so sad. I hate to hear that.
Right?
yeah, it is.
That's
It's
Michigan
very
for you.
heartbreaking.
And then they'll ask your opinion on deer hunting.
Right. All right, folks. Well, I'll tell you what. That'll do it for us this week on the podcast. Who we got next week?
Next week, we got a surprise interview from Oklahoma.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yes, I forgot all about that. So stay tuned next week. We're not going to tell you what it is.
That's right.
So that'll do it for us this week, folks. Go over to Jennifer's page over there for Drake's Guide Services on Facebook, her personal page there. Give her a like, follow, share. Do the same for us. Share the show on your social media if you would for us. And for those of you listening to the podcast off of iTunes, make sure you go over and give us a review if you would. That helps us out and helps the people who help us as well.
Absolutely.
Y'all take care. We'll be back again next week. Okay, everybody there on the live stream, if you got a question, real quick, get it in. And otherwise, we're going to wrap up the podcast or the live stream here portion real quick.
That's right. I think I actually got them all. The morel one was a while ago, and it just hit me. But you never give up your morel spot.
No. It's like giving up a fishing spot.
Yep, I can't give up those secrets. Although, if you want to pay me, I might blindfold you and take you out.
There you go.
And leave you in the middle of the woods somewhere. So they can't be followed in, right?
Right. Well, no phones allowed. You're not allowed to bring your phone.
No GPSs, nothing.
No GPS. No nothing.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome. Tom Ginsel says, great show. Thanks again, Jen. Nice.
thank you very much, Tom.
So,
Tammy
I
wants
miss
to know.
you guys.
There you go. And Tammy wants to know if it's going to be Blake Shelton. I'm pretty sure it's not. Actually, in honor of Jennifer, maybe we'll bring on some polka music or something.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah, I got to make amends to Nancy because
you're in
she's from
trouble.
Frankenmuth. I'm going to have to answer for the polka.
You're going to
one.
have to go to the.
Listen, I get the joke about polka because I'm Polish and Hungarian.
Oh, there you go.
So-
So you can do that. There you go. Okay.
I think we're good on the show.
All right. We're going to wrap up the live stream here. But Jennifer, hang on if you would afterwards, and we'll talk briefly. So, folks, that'll do it for us this week. Appreciate Jennifer being on the show, talking about Tom's Hunt and about the elk season here in Michigan. It sounds like it was a great time this year. Stay tuned next week. we got a guest from Oklahoma. I guess that's all we're going to say about
That's
that
all
right
we're
now.
gonna say.
And I have a feeling it's going to be very, very good.
Yes.
We'll just kind of leave it at that. But go over, share the show for us if you would on your social media. Go over to Jennifer's page as well. Give her a like, follow, share, and the same for us. That'll do it for us this week. We'll see everybody here next week, next Thursday night, same time, 7:30. Y'all take care.